Will, one more plug, allchgo.com. He had a great column that he wrote that's up right now about gauging Vooch's market in the free agent market this offseason. I think it sounded like settled somewhere between trying to get him between 15 and 20 annually for a guy who's coming off of a de-escalating contract that towards the end was paying him just under 20. Do you think it's in the Bulls' best interest to just bring him back on a contract like that?
So I think that's really the big question. You have to look at what's going on with the rest of the center market, what's going on with the rest of the teams that will likely have cap space, and just, do you want to be in the Vooch business? Do you want to have a center with those limitations? Some people feel more strongly than others. But then the other thing is, like, how much control do you even have over the situation? Because Vooch is an unrestricted free agent. So if we look at the teams that will have cap space, it's the Rockets, the Pacers, the Spurs, the Magic, the Pistons. Pacers just locked up Miles Turner. Spurs only have $7 million. Magic only have $4.5 million. And the Pistons have $3 million, but they just drafted Duren. They have, Wiseman and a handful of other guys. And they don't necessarily seem ready to compete anytime soon. So the market for teams that just have a ton of cap space to absorb Vooch is going to be pretty small. So that does give the Bulls some leverage to where, he's probably going to want to go to a team that's more competitive, a team that's more competitive who's over the salary cap, work out a sign and trade. I think that would be in the Bulls' best interest to look into that. But then you have to think about what's the number. So if you look at some of these other centers in the league who are similar to him, and this is going to be like below obviously the Jokic, Embiid, Cat, and even Gobert range, just because he's being paid like he's in that range. You have Steven Adams making $12.5 million. You've got Brook Lopez making 13. Jared Allen is making 20. Jakob Poeltl's making 9, but he's going to get a big upgrade. Mitchell Robinson 15. Capella 18. So Nurkic 17.5. That's kind of the range that I think Vooch is going to have to come to grips with, just because that's what people are paying centers.
Sure.
Vooch is also on the older end of the spectrum.
Sure.
But he is on the better end of the spectrum too. He's been the all-star. And he has more of an offensive burden than most of these other guys do for their respective teams. So where it nets out for me, and I used this tool that our buddy Steph No made last year to sort of gauge based on games, minutes played, and EPM, which is the estimated plus minus number that we look at a lot for all-in-one production. You're looking at about $18 million per year. And so for that number, is it worth bringing Vooch back? Is it better to look to sign and trade him? Do you want to bring him back with the idea that maybe you'll sign and trade him? How many years are you looking at? Is this something you'd want to do a 1 year and then sort of line him up with the end of DeMar's contract so you can reset after that?
Yeah.
Do you want it to be a 3-year deal, which is probably the most I would want to go? So big questions ahead for Vooch, but I think you're looking at, the $18 million range. And if you're the Bulls front office, if you're JJ Polk, trying to figure out how you can fit the rest of the pieces of the puzzle around that. Can you bring back Kobe if you're also going to get Vooch for $18 million? Can you bring back Ayo if you're also going to get Kobe for X or Y million and Vooch for $18 million? So I think those are the big questions that the Bulls need to answer. And then also, if you do decide you want to move on from him, what's the backup? What's the alternative? And where do you go from here? So obviously, a total rebuild. Is it a retool? All that stuff is on the table, but it really comes down to, do they want to bring Vooch back? Does Vooch want to come back? And what's that number that they can get him for?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's always Andre Drummond's player option, so they got that going for him.
Yeah, I looked it up while we were talking. He actually did lead the league in defensive rebounding percentage. Drummond did.
Drummond did?
Yeah, Vooch was 6.
Well, there you go. Dave, how do you feel about this? I know you just kind of said,
No, it's more.
If hypothetically speaking, the Bulls pay Vooch 3 years, 18 average annual salary over those 3 years,
Yeah.
is that something you'd be comfortable with?
No. I think that's too many years and too high a number.
I think I'm with you on that.
I think right around that league average, like Will said, when I'm thinking Brook Lopez and those kind of guys, around that salary for about maybe 2 years, I'd be cool with. I'd be like, okay, bet. I love the idea of a 1-year deal. Line it up with DeMar. If we're gonna run it back, line it up with him. Cool. Thank you very much. Good luck, guys. Or if we see it's clearly not working, you still got option to trade him, and it's a good piece because that contract is over. So if you're sending them to another team, it's not a big burden to them. You know what I'm saying? If they get a player like Vooch, who is still going to put up his numbers wherever, however this is going to go.
And you have to also consider kind of, I think, what you're alluding to here, which is like, how tradable is this number going to be?
Yeah,
a
exactly.
2-year, $26 million contract like Brook Lopez got is going to be very movable.
Yeah.
A 3-year, $56 million contract is going to be a little bit harder to move. But, assuming the Bulls want to play out next year and then reassess, then it's a 2-year, $36 million contract, which is a little bit easier.
Yeah, exactly right, man. So either way it goes, Matt, there's benefit to all of it outside of a 3-year, $18 million a year deal.
Right.
But there's a benefit to all of it. I can see Vooch is obviously going to get the most that he wants. He wants the most money he could possibly get, and why shouldn't he? But yeah, the Bulls, they have options to mess with, and Vooch seems like he wants to stay here. He's saying all the right things about staying here, wanting to be here. So we'll see how it goes. And if the Bulls truly do feel that way about him, the closer it gets to this draft deadline.